Did you know that in the original Innistrad, they released the same set of lands in one huge series? Each one of these lands has a dark counterpart. It shows the grimdark nature of the plane. But in 2011, when Avacyn Restored was released, there was a glorious sunrise when Avacyn is released from the Hell Vault. So they redid each of the scenes with a new sunrise art to show the triumph of good over evil. Merch, like, comment, subscribe. Hello, welcome to Back to Basics, a show where I take EDH commanders and try to find the perfect basic lands to fit them. I love seeing someone sit down with some beautiful basic lands, but something I love even more is seeing how well those lands match their commanders. One quick note before we begin. I like to give the artists credit for their artworks, but I may not pronounce their names perfectly. I'll try my best, but please forgive me and correct me if that ever happens. Starting off, we've got Heartless Hidetsugu, an awesome group slug commander. For him, I realized that I was focusing a lot on his facial structure. The piercing eyes and the tightly clenched, almost dragon-like jaw. I realized it looked almost exactly like this mountain from Shadowmoor, illustrated by Brandon Kitkowski. The color scheme is not perfect, but the angularity and sharpness of the imagery matches quite nicely in my opinion. Second up, a fan favorite, Krenko Mob Boss. Now Krenko is the unanimously approved goblin commander, so I went with this mountain from Onslaught by Tony Strudlow, and this mountain from Onslaught illustrated by David Day. I like the idea of imitating the caves and cliffs that these little goblins seem to endlessly come from. If you wanted to go the Ravnica route because that's Krenko's home plane, then this one from Guilds of Ravnica, designed by Richard Wright, definitely caught my eye. This art has a city in it, mild hues of fire, but also matching the green skin tone of Krenko in his art. Third up, we've got Grolnak the Omnivore from Innistrad Crimson Vow. For the Innistrad set specifically, these alternate art frames that are in all black and white match perfectly with the black and white woodcut style lands that come out of Innistrad, so they're very easy usually to match up. But if you want to try and match the shape of the base art version, then we'll have a little bit more of a challenge. I found myself very drawn to the odd shape of Grolnak, and how his bulky and undefinable shape was really enjoyable to look at. But I think I did it with this island from Time Spiral, illustrated by Jeremy Jarvis, and this forest from Urza Saga. Each one has almost undefinable shapes in them, which really lends itself well to his style, but the color of the island matching with the Grolnak's background, and the color scheme of the forest matching Grolnak himself. For number 4, let's take a look at Niv Mizzet Perun and Niv Mizzet the Firemind, two of the more popular Izzet commanders. Now the issue with Niv Mizzet is that it's actually fairly rare to see the hues of Fire Engine Red and Deep Navy Blue so closely juxtaposed in any art in MTG, much less the basic lands. However, I think that just makes it all the more fun to try to match up. So, I started with this mountain, designed by Jeff Myracola, trying to hit that deep navy blue while I try to hit that powerful red color in this island from Amonkhet, designed by Mark Poole. I love the idea of the basic lands reflecting the colors of the other basic land in the commander's color identity. However, if you wanted to go a more lore-based route, then we have to remember that he is probably one of the most important characters in all of Ravnica, so finding something that reflects that city/urban aspect of him is very important, while also trying to match his colors. So I went with this island from Return to Ravnica, illustrated by Adam Paquette, and this mountain, also in the same set, illustrated by John Avon. They directly reflect the color schemes of one another, while also having the urban aspect taken care of as well. And finally, for number 5, we have another 3-color commander with Nicol Bolas the Ravager. This guy almost writes himself, because his influence is so well established in basic lands, with Hour of Devastation and Amonkhet having his distinctive horns in the background of almost every scene. However, I thought it would be tasteful to go back a bit to these basic lands made in the Arch Enemy Nicol Bolas set, illustrated by Christine Choi. They come in pairs of 2, one happening moments before he arrives on Amonkhet as the prophesied deity, and moments after he comes and decimates the plane to create his zombie army. I think they're awesome reflections of his power, and they have the trademark horns visible at all times, so it was ultimately a very easy choice. But there you have it, 5 more commanders sorted for which basic lands I think match them best. But I want to see what you think. Tell me which commanders you'd like me to try and pick out basic lands for. Comment below and let me know, and have a great day.